I always believed betrayal had a sound. Something sharp, something violent, a door slammed, a scream, a crash, the shattering of glass. I thought it was the kind of thing you heard coming, like a storm on the horizon. I never imagined it could arrive quietly, printed in black ink on a clinic report, handed to me by a doctor who didn't even know my name until 5 minutes earlier. But that's exactly how it happened. My name is Emily, and the day my marriage died, there were no fireworks, no dramatic confessions, no lipstick on a collar. There was only a piece of paper with 3 words I will never forget. You tested positive. The doctor said it gently, as if softening the blow would somehow change what it meant. I remember sitting there, staring at him, blinking slowly like the room needed time to catch up with me. "I'm sorry," he added. "It's gonorrhea." It felt surreal. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain short-circuited. Me? Gonorrhea? I'd been with one man for almost a decade. I didn't go out, I didn't party, I barely even flirted with the idea of doing anything outside the little world I built with Ryan. I was boringly loyal. I was stubbornly faithful. I was stupidly trusting. I asked him to check again. He did. Same result. "You'll need to tell your partner," he said. "He should be tested too." Partner. The words stung. I walked out of the clinic into the cold November air, holding the paper like it was a bomb that could explode if I loosened my grip. I remember leaning against my car, trying to breathe, trying not to cry. People walked by me, were a mom with a stroller, a couple holding hands, a man talking loudly on his phone, and I wondered if they could see it on my face. Could strangers tell that my marriage was rotten from the inside out? I drove home in silence. Not the peaceful kind, the suffocating kind. Every streetlight looked harsh, every building unfamiliar, every memory contaminated. I replayed the last few months trying to find the moment everything shifted. The late nights, the unexplained absences, the meetings that didn't make sense. The sudden new cologne, the way he pulled away from me in bed and blamed stress. I had noticed all of it. I just pretended I didn't. When I walked through the front door, Ryan was at the kitchen counter scrolling through his phone. "Hey, babe," he said without looking up. "You were gone a while. Everything okay?" Everything okay? I almost laughed again. "No," I said quietly. "Can we talk?" He finally looked at me, and something in my expression must have startled him because he put the phone down immediately. "What's wrong?" I set the clinic paper on the counter. He didn't even need to read it. His face went blank in a way I'd never seen before. Not guilty, not scared, just empty. As if he'd been preparing for this moment and still didn't know how to perform the right emotion. "What is this?" he whispered. "It's a positive test," I said. "For gonorrhea." Silence. "Ryan," I continued, "I haven't been with anyone else. Ever. So you need to tell me the truth right now." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. He started with denial, of course he did, saying it must be a mistake, that labs mess things up all the time, that maybe it was dormant, that maybe I caught it from a public bathroom or something ridiculous like that. When he finally realized I wasn't buying any of it, his shoulders dropped, and he exhaled shakily. "Okay," he said. "Fine. I messed up. It was one time. I swear. A stupid mistake. I didn't mean for anything to happen. A stupid mistake. A stupid mistake that infected me. A stupid mistake that shattered my trust. A stupid mistake that was about to unravel an entire family. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, my hands shaking, my entire body cold." "Who was she?" I asked. "I don't know," he said too quickly. "Just a random girl." A lie. I felt it instantly like a chill through my spine. "Ryan," I said, "if you want even a microscopic chance of fixing this, you need to be honest." He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't random. This wasn't one night. This wasn't meaningless. But he still shook his head. "There's nothing else to say," he insisted. "I'm sorry. It won't happen again." I left him there, walked past him, and went straight to our bedroom. I shut the door, not loudly, quietly, deliberately, and I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how long he'd been lying to me, how long he'd been risking my health, how long he'd been loving someone else or pretending he loved me while living a double life. My phone buzzed. It was Chloe, my sister. "Hey, Em, you okay? Ryan said you weren't feeling well earlier. Want me to come over?" My stomach twisted. Chloe was beautiful, charming, messy in the way that made people forgive her too easily. She had a way of turning her mistakes into cute anecdotes and her irresponsibility into a personality trait. Everyone adored her, especially my parents. I spent my whole life being compared to her and always losing. And yet she was my sister. I trusted her, or at least I used to. I texted back, "Not today. I just need to rest." She called me instead. Oh, her voice was soft, sympathetic. "Em, sweetie, everything okay? You sound weird." I swallowed hard. "I got some bad news," I said. "About what?" "Health stuff." "Oh no, what is it?" I hesitated. I didn't want to tell her. But Chloe and I always shared everything. Or at least I thought we did. I tested positive for an STD. There was a tiny pause. Too tiny, too fast. And then, "Oh my God, Emily. Did Ryan?" She sighed dramatically. "Men get bored, you know. They wander. Don't beat yourself up." That sentence stuck to me like tar. Men get bored. That wasn't sympathy. That was familiarity. "Chloe," I said slowly, "why would you say that?" "Well, it happens. It's not the end of the world." But something in her tone felt rehearsed. Defensive, dismissive. And that small hesitation when I told her, that half second of silence before the shock kicked in, I replayed it in my mind a dozen times that night. Was it shock or recognition? When she hung up, I stared at the wall, understanding something I didn't want to understand. The betrayal I felt wasn't just from Ryan. There was a second blade, hidden and sharper. And that night, the night I learned I'd been infected, lied to, humiliated, the universe handed me my first clue. The next morning, I received a call from the clinic. A different nurse, different tone. "Hi, Emily. I'm calling about your test results. We wanted to inform you that the strain you tested positive for matches a rare variant we've seen in another recent patient." I froze. "Another patient?" I asked quietly. "Yes, someone who listed an address very close to yours." My blood ran cold. "What address?" I whispered. "I'm not supposed to give out identifying information," she said gently. "But the zip code is the same. Very close. Possibly the same household." My heart started pounding. My breathing quickened. There were only 3 people who lived in my zip code and also had keys to my house. Me, Ryan, and Chloe. I sat down slowly, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. "Can you tell me anything else?" I asked. "Well," she said, "this patient is female." And that's when the betrayal finally found its sound. Not a slam, not a scream, not shattering glass. It was the slow, tearing rip of something inside me breaking, because for the first time, I let myself think the unthinkable. What if the woman Ryan slept with wasn't a stranger at all? What if it was my sister? I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I lay in the dark beside Ryan, who snored softly, peacefully, like a man whose conscience was clean. I watched the shadows of passing cars move across the ceiling, coming and going like ghosts of memories I didn't want to revisit. Every few minutes, my mind returned to the same place. A woman, in my zip code, with the same rare strain. A woman I knew. A woman close enough to share my air, my holidays, my life. And no matter how desperately I tried to deny it, my thoughts kept circling the same name. Chloe. The idea felt nuclear, radioactive, too dangerous to touch. My sister? The girl who stole my clothes, my attention, my childhood toys, miss. But this? No, even she wouldn't cross that line. Would she? Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe stress was making me paranoid. Maybe the clinic was wrong. Maybe it was a random woman. But I kept hearing her voice again and again. Men get bored, you know. Too calm. Too practiced. Too knowing. Around 3 a.m., unable to suffocate the thoughts any longer, I got out of bed and walked silently to the kitchen. I sat at the table in the dark, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. My phone was in my hand before I even realized it. I opened photos. I scrolled. Birthdays, family dinners, vacations, random snapshots. Chloe insisted we take for memories. And in too many photos, I saw something I had never let myself see before. Them, together, comfortable, too comfortable. Ryan with his hand on the small of Chloe's back, Chloe leaning into him as she laughed, Ryan fixing a strand of hair behind her ear, Chloe wearing his hoodie at Thanksgiving because she was cold. Small things, harmless things, things sisters and brothers-in-law did all the time, right? Only now, in hindsight, the images held a different temperature, a different truth. My breath caught when I reached a photo I hadn't looked at in years. It was from a Christmas party at our parents' house. I was standing by the tree, holding a glass of champagne, smiling. Ryan and Chloe were behind me, not looking at the camera, looking at each other. Not like family. Like something else. I felt physically sick. I closed the photos and opened my text messages instead. I scrolled back months, years, reading old threads between us. And again, the patterns were suddenly everywhere. Why did Chloe always volunteer to help Ryan when he had work events? Why did Ryan drive Chloe to her doctor appointments? Because you were busy, Em. Why did they always sit next to each other at family dinners? Why did they share inside jokes I wasn't part of? Why did I never question any of it? Because trusting people was easier than suspecting them. Because I thought loyalty was something that naturally flowed both ways. Because I had spent my whole life being the quiet, reliable one, the one who gave more than she took. But the more I scrolled, the more I realized something. I had been asleep for years. And they had counted on that. I put my phone down and buried my face in my hands. I didn't want this to be true. I didn't want to believe my husband, the man I planned a future with, the man I defended, the man I loved, had been with my own sister. And yet, something heavy settled in my chest, something that felt horribly like recognition. Because deep down, a part of me had always wondered why Ryan's eyes lit up more when Chloe walked into a room than when I did. But I buried that thought whenever it appeared. Buried it so deep that now, digging it up felt like excavating my own stupidity. Around 7 a.m., Ryan came into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Babe, why are you awake? You've been up all night?" I didn't answer. I just looked at him, really looked, the way a stranger might. And I realized I didn't recognize the man standing there. He poured coffee, sat across from me, and reached for my hand. I pulled mine away. His jaw tightened. "We need to talk," he said finally. I laughed bitterly. "About what? Another lie?" He winced. "Emily, please, I already told you it was one mistake. I love you. I don't want to hurt you." I stared at him silently for several seconds. Then I said the question I had been terrified to say out loud. Was the woman Chloe? His eyes widened, not with guilt, not with confusion, but with pure, unfiltered shock. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "What? No, Emily, Jesus, no. How could you even think that?" But the way he panicked, the way his voice cracked, the way he couldn't meet my eyes, that told me everything. I leaned back. "You didn't deny it," I whispered. "I did," he insisted. "I did deny it." I shook my head slowly. "No. You reacted like someone caught with the answer written on their face." He stood abruptly, pacing. "This is insane. he muttered. You're being paranoid. She's your sister. She's my sister-in-law. That's disgusting. Disgusting! Interesting choice of words, considering the reality he was trying so desperately to hide. I stayed calm. Too calm. I got a call from the clinic, I said quietly. They said the strain I tested positive for matches another female patient in our zip code. He froze mid-step. What? What female patient? They couldn't say. He swallowed hard. So you're just assuming it's Chloe? I didn't assume, I said. I asked you and you panicked. His face twisted. So what? You think we've been having an affair? That I've been sneaking around with your sister for what? Months? Have you? No, he shouted, voice breaking on the word. But a small tear slipped from the corner of his eye, and I had never seen Ryan cry like that. Guilty, frantic, scared. It was the closest thing to a confession without actually saying the words. He wiped his face quickly and turned away. I'm going to work, he whispered, grabbing his coat. After everything that happened, you're just leaving? He didn't look at me. I need space, he said. And you clearly need time to calm down. Then he walked out. The door shut behind him like a final punctuation, and the silence that followed was louder than any argument we had ever had. I sat there for a long time after he left, staring at the empty doorway. My hands felt numb. My throat was tight. My thoughts were all jagged edges cutting into me one by one. Something inside me broke that morning. Not loudly. Not dramatically. It was a quiet collapse. A realizing collapse. Because I knew, and with a bone-deep certainty, that Ryan had lied to me again. And I had a sinking, nauseating feeling that I hadn't even touched the full truth yet. Around noon, I finally forced myself to move. I showered. I dressed. I dried my hair with trembling hands. And then I did something I never imagined I would do. I drove to Chloe's apartment. I told myself I wasn't going to accuse her. I just wanted to see, to look her in the eyes, to hear her voice, to sense if something was off. But the second she opened the door, wearing Ryan's old hoodie, the one he swore he lost at the gym, my heart plummeted. She looked surprised. Too surprised. Em, what are you doing here? I stared at the hoodie, at her messy hair, at the faint mark on her neck that looked suspiciously like... No. I forced myself to breathe. I needed to talk, I said. About what? She asked, shifting her weight, blocking the doorway slightly. About Ryan. Her face changed. A flash of something, fear, guilt, annoyance, crossed her features before she masked it with concern. What happened now? She asked softly. Chloe, I said. Did anything ever happen between you two? She blinked rapidly. What? Emily, oh my God, no, why would you even... Because I tested positive for gonorrhea, I said. And the strain matches another woman, in our zip code. Her expression cracked for just 1 second, one tiny, awful second, before she forced herself to look offended. That doesn't mean anything. Em, you're spiraling. Am I? Yes, she snapped. You're hurt, I get it. But accusing your own sister of sleeping with your husband? Do you even hear yourself? I stared at her, letting the silence fill the space between us. But the truth was already seeping out from under her words, dripping from her tone, flickering in her eyes. I knew, she knew I knew. And suddenly she looked very small, very fragile, very guilty. But she didn't confess. She stepped back and said, I think you should leave. And she closed the door. I walked back to my car in a daze. My heart was pounding, my ears ringing, my vision blurry. There was no more doubt, no more denial. Something had happened. Not recently, and maybe not even in the last year, but at some point something had happened between my husband and my sister. The kind of something that leaves a stain you can't wash off. I sat behind the wheel, staring at the steering wheel, gripping it so hard my knuckles went white. And in that moment, that awful, trembling moment, I made myself a promise. I would find out the truth, all of it, no matter how deep I had to dig, no matter how ugly it was. Because some betrayals don't destroy you, some betrayals sharpen you. And mine had just carved me into someone who wasn't afraid anymore. For the next 3 days, I moved through my own life like a ghost, silent, observant, hollow, but watching everything with new eyes. Every detail felt suspicious. Every memory felt poisoned. But I kept my face calm, my voice steady, my movements controlled. If I'd learned anything in those sleepless nights, it was this. When you suspect the people closest to you, you don't confront. You observe, you collect, you wait. Truth doesn't need an invitation. It slips through cracks. And Ryan and Chloe had left me plenty of cracks. Ryan came home late the day after our fight. Not late like he had a long day at work, but late like someone who spent hours rehearsing what to say. He set his keys on the counter and approached me carefully. "Emily," he said quietly, "I've been thinking. We shouldn't let this ruin us." Ruin us. As if I was the one who stepped outside the marriage. "I want us to move forward," he continued. "We can go to therapy, talk to a counselor, whatever you want." I looked up at him from the couch and asked one simple question. "Have you been tested yet?" For the smallest second, he froze. Then, "Not yet. I didn't have time." "You had time to think about therapy," I said softly, "but not to get tested for the STD you gave me." He didn't answer, and I didn't push. If he was stalling, he was scared of what his test would show. The next morning, I began my quiet investigation. Not dramatic, not crazy, not hysterical. Just small steps. A notebook on the nightstand where I wrote down dates, times, observations. A folder on my laptop labeled taxes, where I stored digital copies of anything suspicious. A burner email account in case I needed to request information anonymously. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I just needed the truth they thought I would never look for. The first clue came unexpectedly. I was doing laundry, mechanical, thoughtless, something to keep my hands busy. When I emptied Ryan's jacket pockets, something fell to the floor. A parking ticket. Not unusual, Ryan was careless. But the address caught my eye. 426 Maple Drive. My blood ran cold. That wasn't near his office, or the gym, or any place he usually went. It was 3 streets from Chloe's apartment. I pressed the ticket to my chest and closed my eyes. One clue. But I needed more. The next clue arrived the same day, delivered by Lily, Chloe's daughter. My parents invited us all for an early Thanksgiving prep dinner. I didn't want to go. My insides felt shaky, my skin too thin. But I knew I needed to keep up appearances. Suspicion grows faster when people notice distance. Chloe arrived with Lily on her hip, wearing the same hoodie I saw her in 3 days earlier. Ryan's hoodie, claiming it was so comfy. I smiled politely, pretended not to notice. During dinner, Lily toddled over to me with a stuffed bunny and dropped it in my lap. When I bent down to hand it back, I saw her little backpack fall open. A prescription bottle rolled out. I picked it up automatically. It was an antibiotic. Not the usual kind a toddler would be prescribed for an ear infection or cold. I recognized it instantly. It was the exact same antibiotic the clinic prescribed to me. A cold sweat broke across my skin. I turned the bottle to check the name. Chloe. The date was 2 months earlier. My hands trembled under the table as I put it back. 2 months ago, which meant she had the same infection long before I ever showed symptoms. Ryan had infected me recently. Chloe was infected before me. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a timeline. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I looked at Chloe across the table, laughing, drinking wine, swiping through her phone while my mother fussed over the gravy. And it hit me. She wasn't scared of being caught. She never thought I would look. She thought I was too trusting, too devoted, too blind. But betrayal sharpens your vision in ways love never could. The third clue came from a place I never expected: my mother's scrapbook. She kept everything: tickets, cards, ultrasound photos, hospital bracelets. I always teased her for it. But that night, with suspicion burning through my mind, I found myself flipping through pages while my mom talked about table centerpieces. And there it was: a page dedicated to Lily's birth, photos of Chloe in the hospital bed, my parents holding the newborn, me standing awkwardly beside them with flowers, and on the corner of the page, taped lightly, Lily's newborn hospital bracelet. The father's section was blank. Chloe always claimed the father ran off. But right under the infant blood type, in tiny printed letters, was the detail that made my breath stop. O negative. A rare blood type. I didn't think much of it until a memory flickered like a match in the dark. Ryan donating blood last spring. The nurse laughing. We don't get many O negative donors. The same rare blood type. I stared at the scrapbook page until the edges blurred with tears. Lily didn't just look like Ryan in her smile and her eyes and the curve of her chin. She shared his blood. The world tilted beneath me. My own sister had given birth to my husband's child, and I had been too blind, too trusting, too busy loving people who never loved me back to ever notice. I left early claiming a headache, but when I got into my car, I didn't start it. I sat in the dark driveway, gripping the steering wheel, my breath coming in small, sharp bursts. My thoughts raced like wildfire. If I accused them now, they'd lie. If I confronted them, they'd deny. If I screamed, cried, begged, they'd call me dramatic, unstable, emotional. No, I wasn't giving them the chance to talk their way out of it. I needed something undeniable, something irreversible, something scientific. A DNA test. Not guessing, not assuming, not interpreting clues. Cold, hard, biological truth. Truth that couldn't be twisted, softened, or talked away. I spent the rest of the evening planning quietly. The test needed samples from Lily, from Ryan, and from Chloe. I already knew how to get them. Lily, her hairbrush was always in her backpack. Chloe, she left her lipstick everywhere, including my parents' guest bathroom. Ryan, his toothbrush sat in our shared holder. 3 samples, 3 swabs, 3 envelopes. I would send them anonymously. I would wait silently. And when the results came back, I would decide whether to burn my whole life down or simply walk away and leave them in the ashes. That night, after I got home, Ryan was already asleep. He never even called to ask where I was. I took his toothbrush gently, rubbing the bristles with a sterile swab the way the instructions online showed. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. Then I went into the spare room and opened a small box my mother had given me months ago. A keepsake box with old family photos Chloe insisted she didn't want. Inside was a brush with strands of Lily's fine hair tangled in the bristles. 1 swab, then the lipstick Chloe left in the bathroom during a family gathering 2 weeks earlier. Bright pink, smeared from overuse. 2nd swab. I placed everything in separate labeled envelopes. A, B, C, and sealed them shut. As I held the envelopes in my hands, I felt something shift inside me. Not grief, not anger, not even heartbreak. Determination. Cold, sharp, precise. The kind of resolve you only find when you have nothing left to lose. The next morning, I mailed the samples to an independent lab that didn't require names, just barcodes and payments. Then I waited. But I didn't wait passively, I watched. Ryan suddenly became clingy, overly attentive, the kind of affection that feels more like strategy than love. He brought home flowers, cooked dinner, complimented my hair, asked if I wanted to get away for Thanksgiving, just us. As if isolating me from my family could undo what he'd done. As if running from the truth could keep it from catching him. Chloe, on the other hand, avoided me entirely. No calls, no texts, not even a meme or a selfie, which was her love language to the world. My mother even asked me, "Did you two have a fight?" Chloe seems off. Off. Interesting way to describe someone with a conscience chewing through her ribs. 4 days passed, then 5, then 6. On the 7th day, the email came. Your DNA results are ready. My hands trembled as I entered the access code. 3 files, 3 charts, 3 probabilities. I clicked on Lily's report first, and when I saw the line, likelihood of paternity, 99.97%. My vision went white around the edges. Not 10%, not 50%, not 80%, 99.97%. The father wasn't a mystery boyfriend from Florida. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't someone who didn't want to be involved. He was the man sleeping in my bed. The man who gave me an STD, the man who cried when I accused him, the man who looked me in the eyes and lied through his teeth. My husband, Ryan. And the mother, my sister, Chloe. I put the laptop down and sat perfectly still for a long, long time. The truth was no longer a suspicion, no longer a theory, no longer a nightmare I could dismiss in daylight. It was data, science, numbers, facts. And facts don't care about excuses. They don't bend. They don't soften. They don't lie. And now that I had the truth, the only question left was, what was I going to do with it? Because Thanksgiving was in 3 days. And suddenly, for the first time since everything started, I knew exactly how this was going to end. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I finally understood why Ryan had spent the last week acting like a husband from a Hallmark movie. Flowers, dinners, long hugs, the sudden, we need a vacation together proposals. He wasn't being romantic. He was being strategic. And the irony was that he was trapped by the exact weapon he once used to protect himself. Because years ago, before we got married, Ryan insisted on a prenup. It's just business, he'd said back then, brushing a hand through my hair as if the conversation meant nothing. I'm building my career. I need to be smart. I don't want either of us to get hurt if something happens. I was naive. I was in love. I believed him. So I agreed. But what he didn't realize was that his fancy lawyer, the one he hired behind my back to handle everything, had drafted a document far more favorable to me than to him. Why? Because I had insisted on one line. One single clause. If Ryan commits adultery or moral misconduct that leads to dissolution of the marriage, all shared property, assets, and joint investments revert to Emily in full. I had added it, assuming he'd never cheat. It was symbolic, a gesture, a just in case. He had signed it without even reading the final draft. He trusted me. He believed I'd never enforce it. And now he was sitting on a ticking bomb of his own making. If I filed for divorce, i.e. with proof, Ryan would lose everything. The house, the savings, the joint investments, his half of the company shares we bought together. Everything with either of our names on it. And he knew it. He knew it the second I tested positive. He knew it when I whispered Chloe's name. He knew it when the color drained from his face and he panicked like a cornered animal. He needed me to stay. Not because he loved me, but because he couldn't afford for me to leave. The truth didn't break him. The prenup did. On the morning before Thanksgiving, I watched him pour coffee with trembling hands. He didn't think I noticed the tremor. He didn't realize I'd been studying him the way one studies a dangerous animal, quietly, cautiously, waiting for the pattern. Sleep okay? He asked, voice too cheerful. Fine, I lied. He slid the coffee across the counter, then leaned on his elbows, trying to look casual. So, I was thinking, tomorrow, maybe we shouldn't go to your parents. I know things have been tense. Maybe it'll help if we take some time for ourselves. He smiled like a man offering peace. But peace from him now felt like poison on a silver spoon. You want to skip Thanksgiving? I asked. Well, maybe. You've never once missed Thanksgiving. I know, but with everything going on, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. Interesting choice of word for a man who had been fucking my sister. I tilted my head. Ryan, are you scared to face my family? His jaw twitched. What? No. Are you scared I'll say something? He stared at me. Hard. Too hard. Emily, he whispered, lowering his voice. You know how messy divorces get. Your reputation, my career, the finances. There it was. The finances. The thing he valued most. I'm not talking about divorce, I said softly, but his eyes flinched. He didn't believe me. Because he knew what I held in my hands. He knew what evidence I could produce. He knew exactly how much I could destroy him with a single document. And the fear looked good on him. It suited him. Let's just take it slow, he murmured, trying to recover. Let's not jump to conclusions. We're stronger than this, Em. I let him speak. I let him drown in his own fake tenderness. I didn't correct him. I didn't reveal that the DNA results were already in my inbox. I didn't tell him that I knew the full truth. He still thought he had time. He still thought he had a chance to manipulate me. He still thought he was in control. That illusion would die tomorrow. But Chloe was a different story. She spent the whole week avoiding me, ghosting me, not showing up to my parents' house to help with the turkey prep, which she always bragged about being tradition. I knew why. Cowards hide when truth gets too close. And Chloe was many things, and charismatic, reckless, selfish, but above all, she was a coward. The day before Thanksgiving, she finally cracked and texted me. Chloe, can we talk? Me. About what? Chloe, please, it's important. Me. Then call. She didn't. Instead, she showed up at my door 20 minutes later. When I opened it, she stood there trembling. Mascara smudged, hair in a messy knot, eyes swollen. She didn't even say hello. She just walked past me into the living room, like she'd been rehearsing this in the car. I know what you're thinking, she blurted. I leaned on the wall and crossed my arms. Do you? She swallowed hard. Emily, nothing happened recently. You have to believe me. Maybe we crossed a line once or twice years ago. But I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just stared at her until she ran out of breath. When the silence became unbearable, she whispered the sentence that finally revealed who she truly was underneath all the charm and glitter. He was supposed to choose me. I closed my eyes for a moment. Not in shock, in recognition. Because deep down, some part of me had always known she envied me. Envied my stability, my marriage, my home, my life. But I never imagined the envy ran so deep she'd try to steal the man I trusted most. She stepped closer. He told me he loved me, she said, voice cracking. He said he was leaving you. He said your marriage was dead. And then he married me anyway. I finished for her. Her face twisted. Mom pressured him. You know she always loved you more. I almost laughed. My mother had adored Chloe since birth. She forgave Chloe everything, debt, drama, broken promises. She never once pressured anyone to love me more. But narcissists rewrite history the moment reality stops suiting them. Emily, Chloe whispered. He said you wouldn't leave him. He said you'd never dare. Because of the prenup? I asked softly. Her eyes widened. She hadn't known about it. Ryan had kept that secret even from her, and now Chloe understood the truth the same way he did. I was the only one in this triangle who had nothing to lose, and everything to gain. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't know he... You didn't know a lot of things, I said. Do you want to know something else you don't know? She swallowed. I leaned in just slightly and said gently, I know who Lily's father is. Her mouth opened in a silent gasp. Her face drained of color. What are you talking about? You heard me. That's not... Emily, you can't... You're wrong. I have the DNA results. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the back of the sofa to keep from collapsing. No, she whispered. No, please. Emily, don't do this to me. Don't... I'm not the one who did anything, I said quietly. You did. She shook her head violently, like a child refusing to accept reality. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she sobbed. He said he was choosing me. He said he would leave you. He said. He lied, I finished. To both of us. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing for her. Not pity, not sympathy, not sisterhood, nothing. She had hollowed herself out long before I arrived. Emily, she whispered, please don't tell Mom and Dad. Please. They'll never forgive me. I looked at her long and hard. And then I said the most honest sentence I'd spoken since this nightmare began. Chloe, this isn't about forgiveness anymore. She looked up at me, terrified. Then she asked the question she should have asked years ago before she broke my life in half. What are you going to do? I didn't answer. Because the answer would arrive tomorrow. In front of the turkey. In front of the candles. In front of my entire family. And in front of the man and woman who thought I would stay silent forever. Late that night, after Chloe fled my house in panic, Ryan came home with a bouquet of lilies. My favorite. He held them out to me with a hopeful smile. I took them, placed them in a vase, and set them right in the center of the dining table. The same table where I would place the DNA papers tomorrow. He watched me confused. You okay? He asked softly. I turned to him, smiling, calm, controlled. Yes, I said. I'm perfect. Because for the first time in this entire nightmare, I was. Tomorrow, everything would be revealed. Not in anger, not in chaos, not in screaming. In truth. Truth delivered quietly, surgically, meticulously, the way a scalpel opens a wound to let the poison drain out. And when I was done, Ryan would lose everything. Chloe would lose everyone. And I, the woman they underestimated, would walk away untouched. Thanksgiving would never be the same again. But then again, neither would any of us. Thanksgiving morning arrived with a strange electric stillness. The sky was silver, the air crisp, and every sound felt sharper than usual. The click of my coffee mug on the counter, the soft hum of the fridge, the distant chatter of neighbors prepping for the holiday. Ryan moved around the kitchen in his most charming mood, humming, pretending everything was normal. He had shaved, ironed his shirt, styled his hair like he was going to a job interview, not a family dinner with a wife he betrayed, and a prenup he was terrified of. Traffic will be bad, he said lightly, glancing at the clock. We should leave early. I nodded, calm, composed, steady. He didn't notice the brown envelope in my bag, or the blue prenup folder beneath it, or the fragile quiet around me that meant something inside me had already shifted irreversibly. The drive to my parents' house was silent except for holiday radio ads and the soft drumming of Ryan's nervous fingers on the steering wheel. Every few minutes, he looked at me like he was trying to read my mind. He couldn't. For the first time in our marriage, he truly had no access to my thoughts. When we parked in my parents' driveway, he exhaled like someone preparing for a performance. You ready? He asked. Yes, I said. Are you? He gave a shaky smile. He never realized how much of his confidence depended on believing I was blind. The moment we stepped inside, warmth hit me. The smell of thyme and butter, the sound of laughter from the living room, the glow of candles flickering against the window. My mother rushed forward, arms open, her face lighting up. Sweetheart, happy Thanksgiving. I hugged her back. For the first time, I wondered how long it would take for her face to collapse when she heard the truth. My father shook Ryan's hand warmly. Too warmly. Good to see you, son, he said, clapping him on the back. Ryan swallowed hard, attempting a smile. Chloe hadn't arrived yet. The house felt strangely balanced without her presence. Lighter, quieter, less sharp around the edges. We helped set the table. My mother fussed over the turkey. My father opened a bottle of wine, and Ryan tried to blend into the rhythm of family warmth he thought he still had access to. He didn't notice I was watching him. He didn't notice how tense my father's smile became when Ryan spoke. He didn't notice the faint guilt in my mother's eyes when she asked how we were holding up this week. She knew something was wrong, but she didn't know how wrong. Not yet. When Chloe finally arrived, she entered the house like a woman approaching the gallows. Her smile was forced, her laugh brittle, her movements too rehearsed. Lily clung to her hip, unaware of the storm building around her. My parents greeted her cheerfully calm. Of course they did. But even they seemed to sense a strange tension in the air. When Chloe's eyes met mine across the room, she froze. Just for a breath. Just long enough for me to see the panic she was trying to bury. She mouthed silently, "Please." I didn't respond. She looked down, adjusting Lily's coat, her hands trembling. The table was set. The food was ready. Everyone took their seats. Ryan sat beside me, Chloe across from him, Lily in her booster seat. My parents at either end of the table. The perfect family picture, the perfect lie. My mother smiled, lifting the carving knife. "Before we eat," she said, "I want us to say what we're grateful for this year." Ryan straightened, preparing to say something noble. I opened my bag. He didn't notice yet, but Chloe did. Her face drained of color. My father cleared his throat. "I'm grateful we're all together," he said. My mother squeezed his hand. Ryan smiled, leaning closer to me. "Emily, you want to go?" I stood up slowly, and the room changed. The air grew tight, charged. Everyone looked at me at once. "Actually," I said softly, "I do have something to say." I placed the brown envelope on the table. Ryan's smile flickered. Chloe stopped breathing. My mother looked confused. My father leaned forward. "I've been grateful for a lot this year," I began. "But mostly, I'm grateful for the truth." My mother frowned. "Sweetheart, what?" I slid the envelope toward Chloe. "This is for you." Her fingers shook as she touched it. Ryan's eyes darted between us. "What is that?" he whispered. I didn't answer. "Emily?" Chloe begged, voice breaking. "Open it," I said. She hesitated, then peeled the seal apart with trembling hands. She slid out several papers. Stark white, clinical, final, DNA report. She scanned the first page. Her breath hitched. Her eyes widened. Tears filled them instantly. My mother noticed. "Chloe, honey? Are you okay?" Chloe dropped the papers onto the table. They fanned out perfectly, like cards in a magician's reveal. My father leaned in, squinting. "What is this?" I spoke before anyone else could. "It's a DNA test," I said quietly. "The test that determines who Lily's father is." Silence. Absolute silence. The kind that collapses the world inward. My mother's face went pale. My father's jaw clenched. Lily picked up a crayon, oblivious, scribbling across her napkin. Ryan's voice cracked first. "Emily, what the hell did you do?" I looked at him calmly. "The test confirms a 99.97% probability of paternity." He blinked. "What?" My voice didn't rise. It didn't tremble. It was steady. Surgical. Precise. "Ryan," I said, "you're Lily's father." Chloe sobbed, a fractured, broken sound that echoed through the dining room. My mother dropped her fork. My father froze, face slack with shock. Ryan shook his head violently. No, that's not possible. Emily, this is insane." "It's science," I replied softly. "Not up for debate." He pushed back from the table, panic rising in his voice. "You had no right to do this." "Actually," I said, reaching into my bag, "I had every right." I pulled out the blue prenup folder, the one he impulsively signed years ago, the one that now held the weight of his future. My father stared at it. "What is that?" "Insurance," I said. "Legal insurance." I placed it on the table next to the DNA results. "Ryan cheated," I said evenly. "Repeatedly." with Chloe. Chloe collapsed into tears. My mother gasped, covering her mouth. My father's face flushed red with a rage I had only seen once in my life, the night he found out his own brother had stolen from him. Ryan stuttered. Emily, baby, please, let's talk about this privately. Not like this. This is exactly how this needs to happen, I said. He tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. You don't understand, he pleaded. I understand perfectly, I said. And so does the contract you signed. I opened the folder and slid it toward my father. He read the adultery clause. His eyes hardened into steel. This means, he whispered slowly, everything goes to Emily. Everything, I confirmed. The house, the savings, the investments, the car, the accounts, all legally mine. My mother looked at Chloe, betrayal carved into every line of her face. How could you? She whispered. With your sister's husband? The father of your child? How could you do this to her? To us? Chloe sobbed harder. I didn't mean, I thought. He said he loved me. I was stupid. My father slammed his palm on the table. Enough! Lily jumped. Her crayon rolled off the table. My mother pulled her into her arms protectively. My father glared at Ryan. You're finished, he said. You will never step foot in this house again. Then he turned to Chloe. And you? You will not receive another dollar of support from us. Chloe's breath broke in her throat. Dad, please don't. You betrayed your blood, he said, voice shaking with fury. You betrayed your child. My mother began to cry silently. Ryan looked at me with desperation that would have once broken me, not anymore. Emily, he whispered, we can fix this, please. I'll do anything. It's too late, I said. He knelt beside me, actually knelt on the hardwood floor. Don't do this, he begged. But the moment the words left his mouth, my decision crystallized fully. I wasn't just leaving. I wasn't just exposing him. I wasn't just breaking the illusion. I was taking everything. I stepped back, away from his hands. I'll have the divorce papers delivered to your office on Monday, I said. You can move out tonight. He stared at me, eyes wide, breath ragged, face hollowing into panic. Emily, I turned to Chloe. You too, I said. She sobbed, clutching Lily. Where will I go? That's not my problem anymore. Her mouth crumpled, but the empathy she always expected from me, the softness she exploited, was gone. My father stood. Dinner is over, he said. Everybody out. Ryan rose slowly, still staring at the DNA papers like he could will them into disappearing. Chloe whispered, Emily, I'm sorry. I met her eyes. I'm not. They left, together, broken, humiliated, exposed. My mother wiped her eyes, my father hugged me. Lily colored quietly, blissfully unaware that her entire world had just split in two. I felt whole, not triumphant, not vengeful, whole. For the first time in years, I felt the weight lift off my chest. The weight of their lies, their manipulation, their entitlement. Everything they stole from me, my peace, my trust, my dignity, I reclaimed today. And everything that was legally mine, I would reclaim next. As we cleared the table, my mother said softly, Emily, what do you want to do now? I picked up the vase of lilies Ryan brought me. The petals were soft, white, fragrant, beautiful. I carried them to the trash and dropped them in without hesitation. Then I said, start over. And for the first time, the words didn't scare me. They felt like freedom. People always talk about the moment of revenge, the reveal, the explosion, the shockwaves that crash through a family. But what no one warns you about is the quiet after, the eerie, fragile silence when the truth has already blown a hole through your life, and all that's left is the settling debris. The morning after Thanksgiving, the world felt different. I woke up in my childhood bedroom, sunlight filtering through the curtains, my parents whispering downstairs. The house smelled like leftover turkey and cinnamon. Outside, kids were laughing, throwing leaves at each other. It was a normal day. Except nothing in my life was normal anymore. I stretched, sat up slowly, and realized something incredible. I didn't feel broken, or destroyed, or lost. I felt free. The burden of suspicion, the weight of their lies, the endless performance of being the stable one, the forgiving one, the strong one. Gone. Truth had cost me everything I thought I needed, but given me everything I actually deserved. And now? Now it was time to take what was legally, morally, and emotionally mine. Ryan spent the night texting me, calling me, leaving voicemails in every emotional register. Apologetic, angry, pleading, self-pitying. I didn't answer any of them. By noon, he sent a final message. Emily, please. I'll sign anything you want. Just don't ruin my life. Too late. He ruined it himself. I opened my laptop and pulled up the prenup. The blue folder lay on the nightstand like a holy relic of justice. I ran my finger over the clauses again. Full financial transfer. Full property rights. Full control. Adultery. Total forfeiture. I didn't feel guilty. Not for a second. He cheated. He lied. He gambled with my health. He humiliated me publicly. The consequences were baked into a contract he signed willingly. A trap he built for himself. I was just the person who finally closed it. I walked into the kitchen, poured coffee, and sat across from my father. He looked at me over the rim of his mug, eyes heavy. How are you feeling? He asked. Clear, I said. He nodded slowly. Good. My mother joined us, her voice soft. We support you, whatever you decide. I set the prenup folder between us. I've already decided, I said. I'm taking everything. Neither of them argued. Neither of them looked surprised. My mother reached across the table and squeezed my hand. After what he and Chloe did, you deserve peace, stability, a fresh start. A fresh start. The words landed like a warm blanket around my shoulders. But this wasn't just about fresh starts, this was about balance. For years, Ryan controlled the narrative of our marriage. For years, Chloe controlled the narrative of our family. Now it was my turn. I started with the bank accounts. The prenup granted me immediate authority to freeze and transfer shared funds. A few clicks, a few authentication codes, a brief phone call with a representative who sounded more sympathetic than she needed to be. By 2 p.m., every joint account was emptied. Every credit card switched to my name. Every investment moved to my personal portfolio. Ryan texted the moment he saw the alerts. Emily, what the hell? You can't do this. I sent him a screenshot of the adultery clause. He didn't respond. Then came the house. The one we bought together. The one I decorated. The one he brought my sister into behind my back. I called the attorney my father used for the family business, a calm, older man with a voice like gravel and zero tolerance for infidelity. I'll start the paperwork today, he said after reviewing the contract. The house, the vehicles, the joint assets, all yours. He can't contest a single line. Good, I said. And you want him removed from the property? Yes. Consider it done. Just like that, the home I once shared with Ryan became mine alone. Legally, completely, irrevocably. I didn't feel sadness, just relief. And a strange, rising lightness in my chest, like breathing clean air after months of smoke. Then came Chloe. Destroying her wasn't the goal. Rebalancing the family structure was. For 29 years, Chloe fed off our parents' compassion like it was bottomless. They bailed her out of debt, paid her rent, babysat her child, looked past every mistake she made. While I was the good one, the dependable one, the one who didn't need as much. Funny how people assume the quiet child is the stable one, when really we're just the ones used to being overlooked. But now I had revealed who Chloe truly was. Not the golden daughter, not the charming favorite, not the innocent single mom, but the woman who betrayed her sister, who lied about her child's father, who brought chaos into every room she entered. And my parents saw it, really saw it. For the first time in my life, I watched them withdraw from her, emotionally, financially, permanently. That night, my mother said, "We're revising the inheritance. We want everything divided between you and Lily." Not Chloe, Lily. Because Lily was innocent, a victim of the same lies that wound me. My father added, "We're setting up a trust, and you'll be the one managing it, Emily." Me, not Chloe. For years, I was the background character in my own family. Now, I stood at the center. I didn't steal anything from Chloe. I simply collected what she threw away. As for Ryan, by evening, he showed up at my parents' house, red-eyed, desperate, pounding on the front door like a man on the brink of collapse. My father opened it, blocking the doorway. "Please," Ryan begged, "just let me talk to her." My father didn't move, didn't blink. "I have nothing to say to you," I said from behind him. Ryan turned toward my voice, eyes pleading. "Emily, you can't do this. Please, don't take everything. I'll change. I'll be better. You already took everything from me," I said calmly. "I'm just reclaiming what's mine." He shook his head violently. "Please don't do this. I don't have anywhere to go." I looked at him for a long, cold moment. "You should have thought of that before you slept with my sister." His face crumpled. My father shut the door. Hard. Ryan's voice dissolved into muffled pleading, then quiet sobbing, then silence. And for the first time in years, I felt absolutely nothing for him. No pity, no love, no grief, just closure. Pure and clean. By the end of the weekend, I had the house, the savings, our investments, the car, and sole authority over everything we built, while Ryan lived in a cheap motel outside town, sending increasingly desperate emails to my lawyer. As for Chloe, she moved back into her old room at my parents' house, not because she was welcomed, but because she had nowhere else to go. She cried often. Her eyes stayed swollen. She walked quietly, almost meekly, a version of her I'd never seen. My mother barely spoke to her. My father didn't look at her. And every time she passed me in the hallway, she murmured, "Emily, please, I'm sorry." But apologies don't erase consequences. And I didn't owe her softness anymore. I didn't owe anyone softness. On Sunday night, I stood alone on the back porch, the cold air biting my cheeks, the stars sharp and bright above me. My mother wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "You're stronger than we ever realized," she said quietly. "No," I answered. "I just finally stopped being quiet." She smiled sadly. "I'm proud of you." I looked up at the sky, vast, dark, infinite, and realized she was right. All my life, I thought strength was loud, aggressive, explosive. But real strength? Real strength was calm, precise, cold, patient. Real strength was truth. And now that I'd told the truth, everything was mine. My peace. My life. My home. My future. And no one would ever take advantage of me again. Not Ryan, not Chloe, not the family dynamic that once suffocated me. I had burned the old life down. And from the ashes, I was finally building my own.